Okay, so are we live? Okay, so I think we are live, guys. Are you able to hear me and are you able to see me as well? Hi everyone. Sorry for the delay. We had a 2 minutes delay. Uh, just set up stuff, nothing else. So I hope my voice is clear, guys, and also I'm visible to everyone. Yeah. So that's great. That's great. So how is everyone doing, guys? How is everyone? I hope everyone knows that today we will be building a very nice Slack clone, which will be in React and Firebase. So we'll be learning a lot of new stuff today. Uh, a lot of stuff to learn, both React and as well as your Firebase as well. So we'll be learning all of the stuff. So okay, great. So guys, prerequisite, you don't have as such any prerequisite, but I mean, if you know React, then it is very well and good. And if you do not, like, you should definitely know JavaScript. That's obviously the prerequisite over here. But if you do not even know JavaScript, then it will be a little bit hard for you. But I'll be like teaching you each and every line of code. So I think that will be easy for you if you know the language. If you do not know the language, I mean, you can just go along with the video. I'll definitely explain each and every bit of code, right? And React, for people who know JavaScript but who does not know React, we will be talking about React basic concepts also before jumping onto the project. We'll be talking about a few React concepts and then we'll move on to the project, right? And a lot of you might not be knowing that that you do not like how to set up Firebase and things like that, right? And many of you might even don't know what Firebase actually is, right? So we'll be learning about everything. We'll be doing Firebase from scratch. So don't worry if you do not know Firebase. So don't worry about that. But yeah, a little bit of JavaScript will be fine. Basics of JavaScript is fine. And okay, so some of you are facing voice issue. Okay, okay. Let me just change the mic, guys. Just a moment, so that it would be easier for you. And by the way, we'll just through the whole agenda, like what will be done when. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I hope this voice is audible and this voice is much more nicer than the previous one. So I hope everyone is able to hear me now. So just to check, please guys, let me know if this is better. Okay, I think, okay, great. So this is much better and good. So we'll go with this only. Okay, right guys. So let's quickly jump into the things that we'll be learning, the agenda for this whole webinar, how it will be divided and things like that. So this is a two-part webinar wherein we'll be having one part over here today, and the second part will be held tomorrow, right? So this is a bootcamp kind of thing, more of not of a webinar, but a bootcamp kind of thing, because we'll be learning a few basics of React and JavaScript and things like that, and then we'll be creating a project out of it, right? So this is the approach that we'll be following. We'll be following this approach to learn new things by creating a project, right? So we'll be creating a Slack for it. And what we will be doing is, like, from the starting, I'll be just giving you an intro on what we will be creating, how we'll be creating, what we will actually be using, and things like that. And that would approximately take 10 to 15 minutes. Apart from that, then we'll after that we'll go on and move to how should we actually create a project, how should we think about a project, how should we think about a React project, how to build it, and things like that. Then we'll move on to that particular topic, and after that we'll be doing setup, how to set up our particular project, and what
editor and what extensions will be helpful for you for future while you're doing a React project and things like that. So we'll be moving on to that topic then. And after that, after setup is and everything is done, then we'll be learning a few basics of React before jumping into the project. We'll be learning a few basics of React, and then we'll finally jump into the project. Right? So this is basically the timeline of the whole project, right? And also, guys, if you have VS Code, then it's really good. If you do not have VS Code, then I'll basically tell you to download it. It's a very good free editor, so please do that. And also, you should have Create React app, which is a tool to build a React app, right? So you should download that tool as well. So the Create React app tool as well as the VS Code editor. So these are the two things that if you have, then it's very good. And also, you'll definitely uh, learn new things today in this particular bootcamp, right? So let's get started. Let me just take a few questions before starting. Atom is also fine, but I'll generally go with VS Code because I'll showing you some tips and tricks for the Visual Studio Code particular editor. So if you do not have that, please download that in the meanwhile, right? So do that. And let's get started, guys. So what we will be doing in these two boot camps today and tomorrow. So we will basically be building a Slack clone, a clone of Slack application. If you have used your Slack application, it's fine. You would be knowing a lot of functionality and things like that. But if not, then I mean, we'll show what Slack is and how the application works and things like that, right? So don't worry about that. We'll definitely come to that. But Slack is basically a chat application wherein you just create different channels, or you can call it groups as well. So we create groups over there, and you have a lot of participants in that particular group, and you can chat over there, right? So it's a messaging app for workplace generally. So we'll be building a clone of that, and we'll not be building a clone like totally like copy of the Slack application. We'll be building a lot of functionalities, but not ditto copy of the Slack application exactly. We will not be building the exact copy, right? But a lot of functionalities will be there. So it will be good for us to learn new things and move along, right? And one more thing I want to mention before starting off the project is that after tomorrow's bootcamp, I'll be selecting a few Slack projects wherein whatever you have created within the bootcamp, within these 2 days, you'll need to have to add some functionalities to it. So whatever functionality you like, I'll obviously give you some tips and tricks and things like that, what to add and what not to add. So definitely I'll tell you what to do, and you have to enhance the project that I end up, and I'll be selecting a few projects, and I'll be displaying that, showing those projects in the upcoming webinar on 18th of September, right? So definitely I'll review it. So you have got a chance to get your project reviewed, right? So do complete it. And this is basically a hands-on session wherein we'll be coding along. So if you do not have any like editor or something, please download that. I encourage you to do that, and we'll be taking breaks in between while we're coding along, right? So I'll give you some time to copy the code and everything. And also I'll basically commit each and every step that I do. I'll put it in a GitHub repo. So I'll just give you the link of the GitHub repo as well. I've already created the GitHub repo. So just a second, guys. This is the GitHub repo that I have just put it on the chat. So please just go ahead and go to the repo, and I'll be pushing every commit over here. And you can just, I mean, if you want to copy the code, just go ahead and visit that page and just copy the code from there. And if you want to like follow along, if you are stuck in between, you can just like go to a commit and move on from there, right? So you can do that as well. So this is a repository. This is a GitHub repository, and let's just get started, I guess. Okay, and so guys, first of all, I just want to show you what we're building, right? Because there's no sense that we're building anything we don't know what it will look like, right? So the first thing, the very first thing should come to your mind that whenever you're building something, you should have a picture in mind what you're exactly building, right? So let me just share my screen, and let me show it to you guys what we will actually build and how it would look like. So I have a wireframe out here. So let me share my screen. So is my screen visible to you, everyone? Yes. A lot of you guys are saying that this repository is empty. Yes, guys, it is empty right now. Obviously, I'll be pushing code as I code along, right? So I haven't started the code at all, right? So again, guys, this is the link. I'm posting it again. Okay. So please, someone from the Coding Ninjas team, drop a comment with this particular link so that everyone can use this GitHub repo. Please do that. Okay, cool. So, so let's get started, guys. So let me just show it to you guys what we will actually be building. So let me just get the link of the design. Just a second. This is my browser, guys, and I'll just post the link over here. And let it load for a second. So this is the Slack, guys. I hope everyone knows what Slack is, but still I'll just go through it once again. And I'll just zoom in a little bit so that every one of you can go through it. Okay. So guys, this is basically a Slack application, which is wherein you have, like when you log in, when you have actually logged in, you have basically a set of channels wherein, let's say this particular channel, we are at this particular channel, face lift, and we can basically chat over here, right? Here on the bottom, you can see that we have a message box over here, and we can just put on some message over here and chat with people, whoever are actually inside this this particular Slack channel, right? So you can also call it a group, but this is kind of, we call it a Slack channel, right? Slack application calls it a Slack channel, and here at the top you can see the members over here, right? How many members are over here? So each channel will have different members, and whatever you create a channel. So for example, if you're creating a channel to learn JavaScript, then whoever is interested can join that particular channel, and we can have a discussion around that topic, right? Generally, we create channels like this, right? Okay, so guys, we'll definitely come to the React part. So please wait a little bit. And I think already we have in the description on how to download the Create React App tool. We have that already in the description, I guess. So use that to that particular video reference to see how you can download the Create React App tool, which we will be using. Okay, so great. So let's go on. And so here on the left hand side, this is the channels part. You have direct messages where you can just personally chat with a particular person also. And here we have starred messages, wherein if you want to star a message, you can star that over here. And here you have unread messages. Here you have threads that you have particular being mentioned in, right? So again, guys, we'll not be creating the exact copy, but we'll be coming very close to this application, because the main purpose of this is to learn new things, right? To learn new things. And we'll be taking up all of the groups. The beginners group who do not know React, we'll be covering that. A basic session of React before starting the project. And then we'll have also catering to the group who people who already know React. So it will be beneficial for you as well, and obviously for people who are very expert in React, you will get to know Firebase if you do not know that. So it's a very good application to build in order to learn new things, right? So it's a very good application. So we'll be building this, and here you can see a little bit more about the design. So here you can see if you hover over a particular person, you get a message or a call. You can call a person or message a person, but again, we'll not be building a call feature. So the application that we will be building, it will be something like this, but not exactly the same. Just reminding you guys again. Cool. So here you can see all threads. So wherever your name is mentioned, wherever you are tagged, you can see your threads over here in the Slack application. And here you can create your channels. So channels can be either public or private, right? So it's totally up to you what type of channel you want to create. And if we go on further, we'll be able to search for people. If you want to search whoever are on this particular platform, then you can search for them also over here. Right, and I think everything is more related to styling than of than to particular. Okay, that's cool, guys. So let's get started on this. So this is the whole thing which we will be building anyhow. A copy of Slack again, right? So I hope everyone is excited to go on and build this, right? It's a very good project. So guys, any of you, whoever is using Linux or even Windows or Mac, if you want to download create React app, I'm telling you the command. The command is actually just have to do npm I -g create React app. This is the command that you just need to run on a terminal, right? So just do that and you'll have your create React app tool, using which we will be basically be building our React application. Okay, it's a simple command. I hope everyone has npm and node installed. If not, please do that as well. It's a very easy process. Just go and install node.js. npm will come along with it, but please go and install npm and node if you do not have that. Many operating systems have that pre-installed, but do go and check it, right? So you can check the versions of npm -v. You can check npm -v, the version of npm. If you have not installed that, then it will give you an error that npm is not there. So guys, please go and install npm and node from where. Just write download download node, right? So if you just write download node, just Google it, and the very first link, it will give you the releases, whatever you want to download. So just go and download the Windows one if you are from Windows, and if you are using Mac OS, just go and download Mac ones. And if you are using Linux, then go and use this source code over here, right? So guys, just download the LTS version. Don't download the current version, download the LTS version, right? This is the LTS version. Okay, so this is where you download npm and node and create React app. I have told you again, npm I -g create -react -app. This will download your create React app tool, using which we will be building our application, right? So let's do that, guys. So now let's move on forward and quickly spend a little bit of time on what we will be building and how would we be going along, right? So before even starting the project, or rather, let's create a project beforehand. So let's open a terminal. So everyone, please open the terminal, guys, and I'll just increase the font size over here. I think that's fine. And if you are facing any issue with the font size, then do let me know. I'll increase the font size even more. Okay. So now what we'll be doing is we'll be going into desktop, and I'll be creating a folder mkdir create or let's say React Slack clone. So I'll go into the repository, into the directory, and here, as you see, there's nothing over here. Or rather, what we will do is, let me just remove the folder, React Slack clone. Okay. Okay, guys. So if you want to create a React project, what you want to do is you just want to do, after you have installed, again, create React app. After you have installed that, just do create React app, and you have to just name the project, and whatever project you want to do. If you want to do for React Slack clone, so we are building this particular project, just do a create React app space and the project name, right? So whatever the project you want to go for, just give it a name, and it will give you a directory, a folder, and it will basically give you a boilerplate code, right? Once you've installed it, we'll go through each and every file. Don't worry about that, but install it. And again, I just told you guys how to install create React app using npm and If you don't have npm and node as well, just install your node.js package, which I just showed to you. Okay, guys, so it will take some time before we write actual code, because you can't start writing code before knowing anything, right? Before knowing what you're going to build, or before knowing what functionalities you're going to build, right? So we'll study a process on how we should start a React project, right? We'll come to that. Before, let's just download everything. And Akshit, yes, at the very end, we'll be deploying the project as well. So at the very end, we'll be deploying our project on Firebase itself. So don't worry about that. Okay, so in the meanwhile, it's installing. What I want to go is, I want to go through the process that you ideally should go through before starting a project, right? So guys, if you have an idea about anything about a project that you want to create using React or anything basically, so this general process can be followed anywhere using any project. This is a general scenario, general process that I'm going to tell you guys. If you're going to follow this, then it will be very awesome for you when you actually create the project, right? So everything will be clear for you guys. So what is the process? So basically, the process about building a React project is that whenever you have a project in mind that have to build XYZ application, the very first thing in mind should be wireframing. Wireframing basically means what you're actually going to build, right? And how it should actually look on, right? How it actually should look like, sorry. So definitely you should know what you're actually going to build, right? Even beforehand. So what you should do is just take a rough piece of paper, or if you are expert in design, then you can go and like use tools like Figma or Photoshop, or I mean anything, right? So there are a lot of tools for wireframing. So you can use that if you already know those. If you do not, just go and take a rough piece of paper, guys, and draw out things like what you will be building, right? So for in our case over here, if you go and see, if you not have a prototyping or a wireframing tool, you will actually just draw it out, right? So we'll draw everything, that we'll have a sidebar, we will have something this on the right hand side, wherein you will be able to send messages and what a particular message would look like. Here you can see that a message would look like this, where you have a name, you have your uh, the avatar and things like that. And on the left hand side, you'll create your channels, your direct messages, and everything will be on the left side, right? So let me just go once more that how you should start a project, right? So the very first thing when you start a project, when you have in mind, is you have to go and wireframe it. That means you have to draw some sketch about what you're actually going to build, right? Because you do not know how to, I mean, what you are going to build, then obviously your mind will be haywire and you will not be able to finish it successfully, right? So you have to go ahead and first draw it out what you will actually be building. This is what we will be building. We have everything over here. And once you have got it down, once you have all of this ready, then what you want to do is, again, before even starting the code, you first have to know what functionalities you're going to build, right? So like, for example, over here, we want to build a functionality to send a message, right? We want to build a functionality to create a channel and things like that. So you got to know what you're actually going to build, right? Once you have the wireframe, you should list out your functionalities, right? So let's do that quickly. If we have, if we already have our project set up. So guys, I think project is set up, and again, quickly, I'll just go and push it into the repository again. Guys, I'll push this into my repository. So if you are, you can just clone it, or you can just go ahead and copy the code, right? So what I'll do is I'll go into React Slack clone. And if you can see over here, get status, we already have, we don't have anything over here, but uh, if we do git log, you already see that we already have one commit over here, right? So we already have one commit over here. then just have to, that basically means that when you are using create React app to build a React project, it will automatically create a Git repository for you, right? So I'll quickly add my repository, which I created on GitHub. Add origin, great. And git status, is everything fine? Git push origin master. Okay, so I basically put all my code up until now onto GitHub. So if you go ahead and check it out, if you open the repository over here, it will have the latest code. Right, so this should have the code. I'll keep on making commit, guys. So do make small commits. So now you can see we have the latest commit over here, right? This is a commit. Cool. So let me just do one more thing. Okay, everything is fine, guys. So let me just open this in the core editor as well. Right, so let me open this in Visual Studio Code again, guys. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and if you are not, I think you should. It's a very good editor. Okay, so do use that, and let it just open. So we have our Visual Studio Code open, and now I can just quickly increase the font size so that everyone can see. I hope this font size is fine, guys. Sure, Sanjay, you can use tag blitz as well, and you can use your own repo as well. To create your own repo, you can just validate your code with the GitHub repo, right? So it's not necessary to just clone the repo and use it, but obviously you can just use that code inside the repo with your code as a reference, right? So you can do that. Anyways, so we have just created a code, the repo using create React app, right? So we have done that. Let me just, again, we're not touching the code. We're not doing anything over here. I have just started the React project. That's it. I have not done anything, guys. I have not done anything, right? Again, I'll just repeat the steps. What I have done up until now, I've done nothing but using this particular command. I've done create React app, and I've downloaded, not downloaded, sorry. I just named the project React/clone, and it will just create a repo for you. So guys, people who are actually saying that I'm going very fast, I have not done anything up until now. I've just created a repo, guys. I have not done anything. I have not touched even the code base. I mean, I've not done anything, right? So I'm not sure how slow I can go, but what I have done up until now is just created the repo, created the project using create React app, right? Nothing else. And again, we are not doing, we're not going to see the code until much more further. Don't worry about that. You guys just go ahead and create your project with create React app, right? So, okay, let me just create a new document, a new file, which I generally name as thinking.txt. It's just a simple text file, and here we'll be basically listing down the steps that you need to take to create a React app, right? We'll be just listing down the steps. So first step, I just told you guys that we basically need to, you basically need to have a wireframe of what you're actually building, right? So guys, I'm using VS Code. You can use any editor, but again, if you're using VS Code, it will be helpful for you because I'll be showing some tips and tricks on how to use Visual Studio Code with React in a perfectly nice way, which will improve your productivity, right? So if you're not, just try to download VS Code. It's a very simple thing to do. Just Google it and you'll be able to download that, right? So here in my thinking file, I'll just go through the steps that I'll usually take before even starting the project, right? This is the file that you need to definitely go through before starting any project, right? The first step I do is wireframing. So when you have any idea about what to create, what application to create, and things like that, if you have any idea, just go and wireframe it out. Right. So draw a rough sketch of what you are actually going to build. Right. This is called wireframing, where you just have to build something. I mean, rough sketch of something what you will be basically building, right? And again, going through the Slack project, let me just increase the font size a bit. Yep. Or even let's close this. This. Yep. So let's just go over here back to. This is basically called wireframing, guys. Okay, some of you want the link again. I'm again sharing the link, guys. This is the link, and this is the link, guys. Please go ahead and use this repo. Okay, so guys, who ever is not able to create the project, just clone it from here. Just go over here onto the code button, copy this link over here, and on your terminal, do git clone and paste this particular link. Okay, just do that. Okay, so do that, or what you can do is you can fork this repo. By forking that, I mean just click on this fork button and fork this repo and just clone that, right? Just do that. So just clone it, and after that you'll be able to follow along, right? And if you still have any questions, problem facing, just try to Google it out first, guys. Try to Google it out, and if not, just paste it on the chat. We have our TAs over here that those will be able to assist you guys. So I'm sure someone will be here that someone will be able to help you out, right? But try to Google the error first before even like pasting it over here. Just try to Google the error, right? You'll definitely find a lot of links. Okay, so let's come back to the design part. This is our wireframes that we will actually be building, right? Okay, so next come to the second point. After you have the wireframes, after you have everything sketched up, what you'll be building actually, what you'll be building using HTML and CSS and things like that, then you go on to the next part, which is called the functionality. I generally call it functionality over here. And here you basically write what functionalities you're going to build, right? So we will have a sign-in functionality. This is one example. We will have a sign-up functionality. A user will be and should be able to sign in and sign up as well, right? So these are the two main functionalities. After that, we have create a channel functionality. So again, I'm just listing down points before even starting to code, right, guys? It's very important to think on these terms before even going to code, right? It will solve a lot of problems for you, trust me, and it will be very make you very productive. Okay. After this, after creating a channel, what else do we want? We want to create a send message in a channel, right? This is our other functionality, and someone should be able to join a channel, right? Cool. Someone should be able to search for a channel, right? So things like that, guys. Okay. So this is basically the basic functionality that you need to write down before even starting the project. And why am I doing this? Because when you're actually coding, you need to have something, right? You need to have something when like what functionality would you build first and things like that. So that's why we create a list of functionality. And again, this should not, I mean, it should not be the whole exhaustive list. That basically means that just write the functionality that you know or that is coming to your mind before starting the project. Right, just write those functionalities only. So currently in my mind, I have these functionalities to build for as of right now, right? And again, we'll just add on to this particular list whenever we are actually coding and we figure out a new functionality that we will build, right? So we'll definitely go and add on to this list, right? Awesome. This is the search channel and this is the functionality part, guys. So we are ready with functionality. And next part, we need to know what data is required for our whole app to work, right? So what is the data? I mean, you will be storing the messages, you will be storing the users and things like that, right? You will be storing what channels are there in your application and things like that. So you want to know what data should be there, right? And again, I've not even started coding at all. I'm just quickly going through what whichever thing is coming to me as of now before starting the project. Right, I'm just quickly going through those things. And again, we can totally add on things when we actually code. But as of now, whatever is coming to my mind right now, I'm just trying to uh, write it down over here. Right, so data will be users. We'll obviously be storing users, right? We will definitely be storing channels. So again, on top of my mind, whatever I can see by looking at this particular wireframe, right? We have channels, we have messages, we have what do you call users. So a lot of users are there, right? So things like that, whatever is coming into your mind, just go over here. Obviously, yep, Kuldeep is saying leave channel functionality, delete, logout, and things like that. Yes, Kuldeep will definitely go and add logout and things like that when we're creating the authentication part using sign in and sign up, right? So we'll cover that over there. Deleting a channel and things like that we'll definitely cover. But again, whatever times allows us, right? So this is a basic functionality that we need to have, right? Once you have all this functionality, that basically means your app will be working out right? So you can quickly go and add on functionality like deleting a channel, things like that, right? So you can totally do that later on. But if we have time, we'll definitely add on those functionalities, right? But whatever on top of my mind is coming over here, I'm writing. So messages, obviously we need to have messages, right? Store messages, I mean. You need to store user, you need to store the channels, you need to store the messages as well, right, guys? So we are definitely going to do that. So and for people who already know about Slack and have used Slack, in Slack we have a concept of workspace. So we'll not basically, I mean, talking about workspaces as of now. We'll not be creating workspace, right? So let's keep this a simple application. For those who do not know workspace, don't worry, we'll not be creating those, right? So what's the next part? So we have the data, we have functionality, and we have wireframing over here, right? So now this is much more related to code, which I'll be listing now. This is the fourth point over here, the UI part. And for the UI, guys, we'll be using React, right? So, and I'm not sure if people know about React or not, but I'll just give you a brief intro. What is React and things like that, right? So React is basically a UI library, guys. It's just a simple library, simple JavaScript UI library, wherein it helps you to build user interfaces, right? By UI, I mean user interfaces. And by user interfaces, that basically means whatever you can see on the front end side, right? So here you can see this is a nav bar over here, right? This is the Behance website. You have this nav bar, you have this drop down over here, you have a create project button, things like that. This is the UI part, right? So React is generally used to build UI, right? Again, guys, just go ahead and try to Google out Behance Slack redesign. You'll definitely get the link, right? So just Google Behance Slack redesign, and I think the topmost link will be the first one, right? There will be a lot of links, but topmost link will be the link which I am using, right? So just download, I mean, just go to this link if you want to go to. but else I'm showing it over here, right? So don't worry about that. Anyways, so guys, there is no step. After the npm command, we have just started the project. I mean, we just created the project. We have not done anything yet, right? There's no steps further on. We have just created the project using create react tab. That's it. We have not done anything else, right? So this is the things that we need to take care of. So we have to make a UI, right? We'll be building UI using React application, right? So UI is basically, again, uh, things like this navbar, pop-ups, and buttons and things like that. So generally what React helps you to do is, React helps you to do basically create UI in a component form. That basically means React follows this philosophy of components. That basically means each and every thing in your UI is a component, right? You can create multiple components. And in the end, you can just link all of these components together to form a React application. So let's see what components are actually, right? So if we just consider this Behance website only, right? So what will be a component for this? So here you can see at the very top level, we have this navbar. So we can call it a component, right? So component is just generally a part of the UI, right? On the top, you have this navbar. Generally, at the bottom, you will have a footer. I'm not sure if they have one. Yes, they have a footer over here. So this footer is another component, right? So now here you can see, here you can basically see that we will basically build a lot of components, a footer, a navbar, and here you can see this. The component can be as big as navbar, footer, or they can be as small as these buttons. This button over here, right? It can be as small as this button over here, create a project, right? So using all of these components and using them together, linking them together, we can create a React application, right? So for example, if we have two components at the top, one is basically the navbar, which is this whole thing at the top, and the other component is the button component, right? So let's say we have these two components, create project button as well as the navbar. So here you can see I'm using create project component inside the navbar, right? This is called composition. Basically, using different components, you can build a React application, right? So using this. So again, here you can see at the bottom, we have another component, if we want to call it. So this is a create post component, right? So we can call it a create post component, wherein you have to just create a post, like post a comment, just write something over here in the text box, right? Okay, we have to write something over here and post a comment. This whole component can be create post component, right? And why is the what is the I mean, what is the benefit of creating components? Here is the benefit of creating components, that you can reuse components multiple times anywhere in your application. And by that I mean, if I make this one comment component, right? This particular block is one component. It's called a comment component, right? So a comment component has the name of the particular user who has created the comment, the time and things like that, and avatar, right? This is one component which I have created, right? So, and here at the bottom, you can see I'm reusing that component, right? So only the data part will change. That means the avatar will change, the time will change, the name will change, the actual comment will change, but the component will remain same, right? So I'm reusing that comment component multiple times in this particular list over here, right? Here you can see we have a lot of comments over here. So each comment is one component and we're just reusing it, right? This is the general philosophy of React, which helps us to build beautiful user interfaces using, using a component-based architecture, right? So again, this is just a general brief overview, and we'll definitely come to components which we will be building, and we'll definitely come and talk about this more when we're actually coding some components, right? So okay, guys. So this is basically components. What are components and how beneficial are these components? So now let's go and think about what components we will be building, right? This is one more step that before even writing your first line of code, you think about what components you want to build, right? And here let's come to this wireframe, and this will assist in listing down the components that we will create, right? So let's come at the top, uh, this one over here, right? So this particular thing which we will be creating, and this is again the signed in version, the logged in version. When the user is logged in, then we will be able to see this, right? So here let's define components. So what components this particular UI will have. And again, now you see the benefit of the steps that I just told you. Once you have created a rough diagram, it will, once you have created the rough diagram while wireframing, it will be easier for you to to list down the components, right? So we'll name here UI components, right? So now it will be easier for you to write down components, right? Okay. So guys, we'll be just taking questions in a while. Just wait in a minute or so. I'll definitely take some questions. But before, let's just complete this thinking stuff, right? How we should think about the project. So here, as I can see over here, uh, we have to think in React. It basically means we have to think in components-based architecture. How our application would be divided into multiple components. So here at this particular style, you can see we have a left navigation bar or a sidebar, you can call it. So clearly you can tell that, hey, this is a sidebar, right? So we'll name this component a sidebar. So let's call it a sidebar. This is a sidebar component, right? And let's go inside it. So here you can see we have this list of channels. We have this list of direct messages. And again, we can divide this component into further components, right? This whole component, the sidebar component, will contain multiple components like this one over here. Let's say we call it a list of channel component, right? So we just name it like this right now. But again, while we're coding it, we'll name it differently. We'll name it more appropriately, right? So inside sidebar, we'll have multiple components. For example, we will have a list of channel component, right? We can have list of direct messages component, right? And things like that. So I'm just naming a few over here, and definitely when we code along, we'll extend the list, right? Don't worry about that. Apart from the sidebar component, what other components I can see? Here on the right-hand side, I can see this. See on this right-hand side, I can see this. Where did it go? Okay, so I zoomed in a lot, I guess. Let me just refresh, guys. I think I lost it. So here we are at the top. Yeah, so what I was talking about, on the right-hand side, you can see we have this whole thing, right? And I just told you we can compose different components with different components, right? So this whole component can be you can call it main container or the right container or things like that, right? So let's call it a main container component. And inside this, you can see we have a lot of components, right? What I can think of is at the top over here, we have this, we have this header kind of thing, right? Inside this right container or the main container, we have this header. So let's call it header. And we have a list of messages, right? So each message is one component. Each message is one component, right? And each message has an avatar, they have a name, they have time and things like that, right? So definitely we have a message component, right? What else do we have? We have this write a message at the very bottom, right? This is a text box wherein a user can write a message. for this particular channel, right? So let's just call it a create message component, right? And again, guys, this is just a simple walkthrough as of now. We'll definitely add on to this later on. So we'll definitely have one sign in form, right? So we'll have a sign in form. We will have a sign up form and things like that, right? So let's just write sign up. So this is just general components that we are going to create, right? So now we're done with our thinking part, right? So this is the whole thinking file which I generally create before starting any project. So wherein again, I'll just quickly recap the process. First, we do wireframing of the project that we'll be going to create. We will definitely have uh, rough sketches of things that we'll be going to create. We'll write down the functionality, what functionality we'll be going to create. We'll write down data of what data we will definitely have in our application. And then last on, we basically have some components, writing down components beforehand, what we are going to build, right? So that is fine for now. Let me just commit this and you guys can have access to this file once you uh, pull from that repo, right? So I do git status and I do git add, git commit, and I'll say thinking in React, right? Git push origin master. And also, guys, let me just quickly in the index in the readme.md file, let me just quickly write the process of things that we're basically following. Let me just remove everything. Let me remove everything. So here I'll write creating a new project, right? And what do you do to create a new project and things like that, right? So creating a new project, you generally do create React app and project name, right? And here I'll write, make sure you have npm and node, right? Make sure you have these, and also create React app tool. These are things that you need to have, right? This is a creating a new project, right? And now it's on running the project. This is one way of creating the new project, or you can just clone this, right? Clone the repo which I have. Git clone. This is the repo, right? Git clone over here and do this. So you will have a project in your particular computer, right? So you'll have that. So we'll have this starting a project. Starting a project. Great. So how do we start a project? We just have to do npm start. That's it, nothing else, right? So let me just commit this as well. So I'll just commit this, update readme, git push origin master. Okay, so I think now you should have your readme over here as well. So now here in the readme, guys, if you do not know how to, create the project or run the project, just go ahead and use these commands, right? So just go over there and check it out, right? That's cool. So now let's jump into the code, guys. So we have done our part, our basic part, which is to think how would we working out and things like that, right? So now let's jump into the setup part and things like that. So now let me close the readme and the thinking.txt file as well. So now, guys, what we will be doing is going through the project structure quickly. This is the project structure, guys, which Create React app gives to us, right? We have this git ignore, we have package.json, and this is a very good, a very important file wherein a list of things will be given to here, right? Things like what is the name of a project, what is the version, right? What are the dependencies that are required to run this project? These are dependencies that are required to run this project, right? And the commands over here. So as you can see over here, in future, I'll be using some commands like npm start, npm build, things like that. So all of these commands are coming from here. npm start basically is doing this, right? So we can add commands over here. Different list of browsers on which we want our app to be functioning properly. This is things like that. Very important file. We have a source folder, right? And it will create, it will have all the source files and things like that, right? So here you can see index.js, which is a very important part, which is a very important file because this is the entry point of our application. So whatever application is running, it's running through this index.js file. So using this command, you're running your application. And as I just told you that we create our component in React, right? We just divide our whole application into components. So here you can see we are rendering the app component, right? So we'll come to it, the code, don't worry about that. But here you can see we're actually rendering the app component. And what is the app component? Let's open the app.js file. And here you can see we have an import statement at the top when you're importing React and logo and things like that. And this is a component looks like in React. There are two types of components. A component can be a function. A component can be a class as well, depending upon your choice. So you can go with both. Here we have this app component, which is the functional component, right? And whatever we are returning over here, this is what it would look like, right? So here you can see we have div, we have header, we have image and things like that. We have an anchor tag and things like that, right? So this is exactly not HTML, kind of like HTML. And again, we'll see what it is in a moment. But whatever you will see in your React application will be this particular thing, whatever you will be returning from a component, right? In a class component. In a class component, we'll see how things differ, right? So we have our app.css file, which is the main CSS file for our app component. We have our index.css file over here as well, somewhere over here. Yeah, this is the index.css file. We have test file. We will not require tests, don't worry. Service worker will not be requiring service workers and things like that. So let's quickly clean up our repo, right? And again, we'll come to the code in a while, but just let's quickly clean up our code, right? Set up our application. So inside the source, I'll create a new folder, which will be called components. So we'll put every component inside this components folder, right? For example, our app.js is the main component, right? So let's quickly go over here and put it inside components folder, right? So let's delete app.css. We will not require this. Let's remove app.test.js. We will not require this. Let's remove. So index.css is the file which we will be using throughout our application, right? So we'll be putting all our styles for this app in one file, but definitely you should not do it. But for our purposes, learning purposes, we'll not focus that much on styling. So we'll put everything in an index.css file. And here index.js file, you can see we're importing all these styles like this, import index.cs. This is how the styles are being imported. So every style will be imported like this, right? So let me just remove the things that we don't require. And this is also not required. Save it, remove the logo. We do not need the logo, guys. We do not need these files, service worker. We do not need this. We do not need the setup test file. Let's delete this. And in component file, create a new file, guys, which is called the index.js file, which is a very important file. And from here, what we'll be doing is, like here in the index.js file, you can see I'm importing app component from the app.js file. Here you do not need to you do not need to do app.js. It automatically assumes that you mean app.js, right? So we are getting app from app component. So instead of doing like this, what we generally do is in React, inside components folder, we create an index.js file and we import every component over here like this. So I want to import app component from the app.js file, which is at the current directory only, right? So I'll just do app. If it would be uh, inside a source folder, app file, instead of components folder, then we would have done something like this. Go back one space, and inside the source, you will find any whatever file you want to do, right? So app is currently the same directly, so we'll do like this. And now we'll export everything from here as an object like this. And I hope everyone knows this ES6 syntax, which is if you want to do like this, if you're exporting an object from this file like this, that basically means if the name as well as the value of the object is same, then you just don't need to give it like this, right? Just write like this. This basically means app is the name of the object. I mean, name of the key as well as the value of the that particular key in the object, right? So we just do export app from here, and in the index.js file, here we will import app like this. So when we are importing from components, we will get the whole object and we are destructuring it. This is again ES6 syntax, wherein I could just do something like this. Object, this will give me an object, and what will be the object? This particular thing. This is the object which I'm exporting, right? So either I can do it like this, or I can just grab the app from this object, right? It's called destructuring again. Go and look it up if you guys don't know. This is called destructuring, right? So our app is being used like this, right? Let's go to app component and remove stuff that we do not require. We do not need logo. We do not need app.css. Let's just remove everything like this from here, and let's write hello world, obviously, because we have to do that once we are learning it, right? Hello world. And now let's run the application. Again, guys, what I've done is I've basically removed the things that we will not require, right? And I'm just now moving along to run the application. To do that, you just have to do one thing called npm start. That's it. Run the application while doing npm start, and it will automatically open your browser with localhost 3000, and it will automatically open that for you, right? So let's just wait for it to finish building the building our project and running it. So let's just wait for a while. It will automatically do so, right? So don't worry, guys. I'll just take up questions in a bit after this is done. After this project is running, I'll take up some questions, and we'll have a 5-minute break also. So let the project run. Okay. Okay. So it is still down. I mean, starting the development server will actually automatically start the server for you. So now you can see it has already started the server for me at localhost 3000. Here you can also see in the terminal, right? So let's go over here, and we have our hello world over here. Let me increase the font size. So finally, we have started our application, our React application, while coding very small amount of code, right? And again, we'll be going through the structure and the code also. So I've removed everything which came along with the app. I'll just rebuild it, right? So again, what I've done, I've just used, just removed stuff which we will not require, and I will just written hello world. I've removed the code which we will not require and things like that, right? Let me just quickly commit this as well so that you guys can see it in the repo, right? So I'll say git status, git add all, commit -m, remove uh, unnecessary files, push origin master. Okay, guys, so I pushed the folder structure inside the GitHub repo. So just go and copy it from there. And I'll definitely go through the structure and everything once more, guys. Don't worry about that. I'll go through it once we come back, right? So this is, now you have, guys, have a 5 minutes break, guys. Just go and try to see the whole structure over here, what I've deleted and things like that, what files I have deleted. So I'll definitely explain the structure, guys, once we come back. So we will have a 5 minute break. So now we have a 5 minute break, guys. So in the meanwhile, just go ahead and go to the repo and cross check your code, what is there and what is not there and things like that. Right. And I'll definitely explain the structure and the code, guys. Don't worry. Okay. And even before starting, we'll definitely we'll take a few doubts. Okay, guys. So, okay, so this is a 3 hour boot camp, guys. We'll definitely close at 10 p.m. So, guys, go grab something if you want to have some snacks and things like that, or water or something like that. Please go and grab it. So, for people who are using CMD, okay, guys, so let's just take doubts in this 5 minute break. People who are using CMD, guys, please don't use CMD. Just download Git Bash. It will be really easy for you guys. Download Git Bash from the internet. Just Google it around, and you'll definitely get it. And make sure you have npm and node and things like that. So, guys, I think you should not worry about certificate, guys. Come on, I mean, here you are here to learn something new, guys. Definitely just uh, learn something new, take away something new from this particular boot camp, and either something new, either React or anything. Just take something new from this and try to grow yourself, guys. So please do not worry about the certificate. Please just try to, I mean, learn new things that we are going to teach over here, right? So please do that instead of worrying about certificate. Hmm. Just a moment, guys. I'll just pin. I'll just put everything in the comments below. So just a moment. Hmm. So guys, don't worry. I'll just put every link that I've used and I will be using in the repo. So in the comment section below. So don't worry about that. Hmm. Okay, guys. So I have basically pasted the links which I just shared in the comment. So in the video down below, you can see the very first comment which is pinned. So if you want to get uh, the latest link, so grab from there. Okay. So also, I just need to tell you one more thing again, guys. Whatever we will be building, you just by the end of tomorrow's bootcamp, by the end of that, just build something on top of that, add a few features in the Slack project, and I will personally be reviewing your project. Uh, I'll be reviewing a few projects, a few lucky ones. So please just try to code along and try to build, few more features on top of what we already built, right? And I'll be taking out a few projects from there, and I'll be displaying it in the next webinar, which will be on 18th of September. Okay, so we'll be discussing about projects a lot more over there. So try to do it. Try to finish whatever we have done up until now, and try to add functionality on top of that, so that we can definitely go ahead and choose a few projects that you will submit, right? Okay. So components folder is over here, guys. Everything is up to date in the repo. Everything is up to date. Well, we'll figure out the best projects. So as you know that in the end, we will be basically deploying our projects, right? So whoever has the best project, we will be taking those, right? Again, for guys who are having errors, just try to clone the repo directly and try to run npm start then, right? Just clone the repo and start the project instead of creating your own project if you are having any issues or any trouble. Okay, guys, so the break is over. Now let's quickly get uh, into the coding part, which I think a lot of you are already waiting for. So number that, do not use CMD. I just told you, just go and download Git Bash for Windows. It will be easier for you to run commands which I am running, right? So you can run those same commands parallelly. So download Git Bash for Windows. For Linux and Mac users, just follow me. That's it. Okay, cool, guys. So let's move on forward and let's learn the project structure, what we have created up until now. What do we have here? So guys, here, this is the app running, right? This is the whole app running. Here you can see the hello world. So where is this coming from? Yes, we'll definitely be deploying the project at the end, guys. Don't worry about that. But let's see the project structure, right? So where is this coming from, this hello world? So as I told you, every React app has one entry point, and for our entry point is this index.js file, right? And for you also, for every React project you created by using Create React App tool, you will have one entry point, right? Which is basically index.js over here for us. And here you can see we have a bunch of imports over here. And again, I'll come to the whole structure and whole thing slowly, but don't worry about it, right? So here we have imported React. That basically means I'm importing React package, and we're using two packages over here, React and React DOM. And we'll see what is the difference in a moment. And I'm importing all the styles also. Whatever styles I'm writing in index.cs file, they will be imported over here so that they will automatically be applied onto the project that we create, right? So, okay, and here we are importing our components like this, right? We are importing our app component. This React DOM.render. So here you can see I'm using the React DOM to render. So render function basically what it is doing is it is basically, I mean, displaying you what you are seeing, right? So here what we are seeing is hello world, which is actually coming from app, which is the app component, right? So we want to render one component. So we can even remove this. This is not required. This is just the strict mode to make our code clean, nothing else. So if we see this particular line, what I'm saying is I'm saying React DOM, please render this component, app component. So I'm currently rendering the app component over here, and this is the app component, right? Hello world. So if you go and open the app component, you'll see I have only hello world over here. This is the exact same thing which is going to display, right? Let's find it out also. Just click inspect element, right click and click inspect element. And let's go to elements. Let me increase the font size here as well. Okay, so let me decrease a little bit. Yeah. So if I select this, you see I have this div class app hello world, right? Where it's coming from? It's coming from the app component with the class name of app, right? And again, here you can see the class name of app. But there is this one root ID also, right? ID root. Where is it coming from, right? We have not created this root, right? So let's go and see the whole structure now. So here you can see this is a public repository at the top, or rather, let's go from the top. Node modules. So what is node modules? So whatever you are downloading, whatever package you are using, third-party library you are using, whatever you will be downloading will go over here, right? Everything which you will be downloading will go over here. For example, if I go to R, which will contain the React package, it should be over here somewhere. Yeah. So here you can see React DOM as well as React. So here you can see I'm importing React from the React package. This is the package part, right? And here, if I hover over here, you can totally see that the module, it is saying that where this package is coming from. It is coming from the node modules folder, right? So this is a package, and we have multiple packages, right? We have React DOM package as well over here, you can see. And also this React DOM package will internally be using some other packages, right? Some other JavaScript packages. So whatever packages the whole package required for this application to run will be inside node modules over here. Everything will be over here. Our package is using some other package, that package is using some other package, and every package will be downloaded here inside node modules folder, right? This is the node modules part, right? And let's come to the public part. The public part is basically, since React is used to build a single page application, that basically means everything routing and everything is basically happening on the front end side using JavaScript only, right? Everything is happening like that. So it is basically a single page application because you only have one page. Index.html will be the only page, and rest of the components or the page change that you generally see in Facebook or other single page application, that is done by JavaScript, right? You only have one page in single page applications, which is this one, index.html over here. And here you can see some things like, let's say you have this meta thing, the whole index.html part, right? And from here, you can see we have this root element, right? Which we just saw in the console over here in the elements part. This is the root part, right? And over here, this is the root part, which is basically the parent of app div, right? This is exactly right. So now inside this root, we will render everything, right? And I'll prove it to you over here in index.js. What we are doing is we're calling the render method of React DOM package, and we want to render the app component. And where do we want to render the app component? We want to render it inside document.getElementById root. So what it will do is it will grab that div which has the ID root, and it will render everything inside the root div. That's why you see over here we have div ID root, and inside this we have this div of class app, right? And we do have two different packages, React as well as React DOM, right? React is basically the package which is used to write code like this, which you can see in app.js, wherein you are creating React components, you're creating, you're using functional components, you will be using class component, and in a moment we'll see state and props and things like that. So everything is managed by the React package, but the rendering part, whatever is being displayed on the screen, is being managed by the React DOM part, right? This is basically the benefit of using React, which basically means that you can use React to write mobile application as well, right? If you go and see, React is used to write mobile application. You can also write desktop application using React. You can also write even VR applications using React, right? So you can see how cool is that, right? The language, the package will be React. Some difference would be obviously there across different packages. Once you learn React, the philosophy and the things that you will learn over here, you can apply those and learn it, learn to build mobile application or desktop application, things like that, right? And over here, React DOM is just a renderer. A renderer basically means to display the app, right? So this is just a renderer for the web part. For mobile part, you will have a different renderer. For desktop, will be have a different renderer and things like that, right? This is just a renderer, which basically means you are rendering your app using this package. That's why there are two different apps, two different packages, right? We are on this public folder wherein we have only one HTML page, and what will happen is when you write all of this code, whatever code you write in React, right, whatever components you write and things like that, we are using Create React App, right? What Create React App will do is automatically bundle all your code together. That basically means it will minify your JavaScript code. No matter how many files you write of JavaScript, it will minify that code and put it in one JavaScript file, right? And that JavaScript file will be here at the top, here at the bottom, inside the body, right? So Create React App tool will automatically do it for you using a tool called Webpack. So Webpack will basically is a build tool that will basically use all your JavaScript files. It will all take all of your JavaScript files and convert it into a one single file, and will automatically put the script tag of that index, that JavaScript file over here in the body. Webpack will do it, right? Once you actually deploy it, and we'll see how it is happening, right, in later moment. Also for CSS and everything, it will create one single file for CSS and for your JavaScript, and will put it here automatically. So this is our index.html. This is our single page. This is the whole single page application that we are going to build, right? So here you can see different things, manifest.json and everything. We are not going to cover it. It's required for every website. We're not going to cover it. Let's go to source folder. Source folder basically containing each and every code of ours. So whatever code we write, we'll have inside components folder. We have index.css, index.json, things like that, right? So everything is covered over here. This is just the source code of our project, right? We have package.json, which is basically a file wherein all of your dependencies, so whatever packages that you're going to download will come over here inside dependencies, right? So everything will come over here. So Shashank is asking that index.html will generate automatically. So absolutely, this public folder is for you right now. So what happens is when you actually build your project for deployment, what will happen is Create React App will create a new folder called build for you. It will automatically create a new folder, build. Inside that build, you will have index.html, you will have only one JavaScript file, you will have one CSS file, and things like that, all compiled into one folder, build. And that you have to deploy, right? So we'll see that in a later moment. Don't worry about that. But this is the whole structure part. This is the readme, this is the thinking.txt, this is the yarn log file, and things like that, right? So generally you, yeah, this is basically the whole general structure of the application that Create React Apps gives to you, right? So any questions around structure, guys? If you have any questions around structures. So Pranjal, I'm not using Parcel, I'm using Create React App, which is a tool given to us by Facebook that helps you give you some boilerplate code so that you do not have to deal with bundlers like Webpack or Parcel, right? So we definitely will do a session later on at some moment wherein we'll be using Parcel, and we'll be not using Create React App. We'll be using different tools to build a React app, right? So we'll definitely do a session later on. Okay, great, guys. So let me just move quickly. So now let me just close everything. I hope the structure is clear. Okay, so first of all, guys, we have hello world only in app component, right? So index.js file is the entry point. So you will tell here which component to render, right? So here you can see that a component, whenever you're rendering a component, that will basically be a tree-like structure. You will have your app component, which will be at the very topmost. It will be a root component. It will have different children, right? Here in my app.js file, I can simply write some other component like this, and we'll see in a moment how to do that, right? But we can create multiple components, right? So it will basically be a hierarchy of tree, right? It will be a tree kind of structure. App component is at the top. It will have some children. Those children will have some other children and things like that, right? So it will be a tree structure, and we'll see it in a bit also. Don't worry about that. So we have our hello world in our app.js file. Index.js file is only telling which component to render. You want to render app component inside the div with ID of root. That's it, right? Okay, guys. So guys, about yarn or npm. So again, npm is node package manager, which will manage all of your packages. And again, there is one other package manager called yarn. So it's created by Facebook, and you can use yarn also. You can use npm also. Here we're using npm. So there's no point of looking at yarn.lock. It automatically comes with it, but we'll not be using yarn. We'll be using npm only, right? Okay, guys. So I think some of you might be feeling difficulty in the components part. So let's quickly go over there. So here in components, you'll see I have index.js file. And whatever new component I will be creating over here, or rather, let's create new component, right? So I'll create, let's say, new file sign in.js, right? I'll create signup.js as well, similarly like this. Let's create a component like this. So here, yeah. So what I'm using is I'm using a React snippets library. When I type RCC, this is a library for VS Code. You might also have it for Atom or other visual other editors as well. But this is for VS Code. If I do RCC, it will automatically write the whole component structure for me. So now we have seen the functional component, right? So this is a class component, right? So in functional component, you just return whatever you want to render, right? But in a class component, you have a render method that you need to specify. And inside this render method, whatever you will return, it will display that to you, right? Let's just write sign in over here, right? This is a class component, class sign in, which extends from component, which is coming from React package. And I'm using a render method, which we have to define. This is a compulsory method you have to define on a class component. And whatever you're returning to this render method, this is equivalent to returning whatever we're returning over here in a functional component, right? And we see it different in a moment, in a little while. Don't worry about that as well. But this is a sign-in component, right? So instead of instead of exporting the sign component directly in my app.js over here, I can simply do import sign in and things like that. And I can simply do that. But instead of doing that, what I generally do is I have created the index.js file. I will import every component over here from from sign in, right? I'm importing the sign in component from sign in file, which is again at the same level as the components, right? And now I'll export it from here in the object. So now in my app.js file, what I can do is, or rather in my index.js file, I can import sign in as well, right? So let's find the difference. Okay, so now instead of rendering app, I want to render this sign in. So let's render this, right? If I refresh over here, so instead of hello world, you should see sign in, right? So now app component is gone because we are rendering only sign in, not the app, right? We have two components. And my point of creating index.js over here in components folder and importing everything from here in different files is that, for example, if you are using this sign in component in multiple files, right? Using this syntax, import sign in from components / sign in, right? So now what I'm doing, the difference between here is I'm importing sign in component from the index file, right? I don't need to write index over here. It would automatically assume index, right? I don't need to do it. So I'm importing sign in from the index file over here like this using restructuring, but I'm using the other ways to import the sign in component directly using this, right? And the problem here, which I feel is that once you're importing components directly from the component file, if I'm using sign in component, let's say in 10 different files, if I'm importing this component to 10 different files, right? And somehow in future, I'll change the name of the sign.js component file to, let's say, signup.js, right? So what I would have to do is I would have to go to those 5 files. I would have to change everywhere sign in, sign up.js, right? Sign up. I have to change everywhere, right? But if I'm doing this thing above, if I'm doing this particular thing, what I need to do is I only need to change it from here. Import sign in from sign up, and I can export sign in like this one, right? So wherever syntax which I'm using like this over here, I don't need to change this whenever I'm changing the file name or anything, right? I don't need to do that. This is one benefit over here. Okay, guys. So let's remove this. I hope you understand this now, why we have created index.js file. Right, so now I want to render app.js only, app component only. If you go over here, you'll again see what do you call hello world. You should see hello world, right? And now in my app component, I want to use sign in component, right? I want to use that. So what I will do is I will again import sign in from the current directory index file, right? I don't need to drag the index folder, index file, sorry. I just need to like this, sign in, and I can use the sign in component like this. That's it. And here, if I go over here, you'll see that just below hello world, I have now sign in as well. So Rahul, the extension for RCC is React snippets. It's linked down in the comments below. So go and grab it from there. Anyways, so this is the extension, guys. So this is the thing, right? So this is a component, and this is how we import and export, right? I have imported sign in over here, and I have used this sign in component inside the app component. Now you see the composability part, wherein using different components, I can link different components together to create my app, right? My app component will be at the root, but now app component has a child called sign in component, which just has the text sign in. That's it, right? Okay, so I'll just quickly go and run through the importing part once again. So the point I'm saying is that if I do an import of app, let's say like this, directly from the file. So the problem over here is if I'm using the app component multiple times, multiple different files, then if I change the name of the app file, I need to change this path everywhere in the 5 files, right? But instead, if I do something like this, if I'm importing like this, if I change the file name of app, I do not have to change anywhere in the 5 files. I just have to change it in one file, which is index.js file over here. Instead of app, I can name it app123 or things like that, right? This is the benefit of the index.js file, right? So this is one benefit, guys. So I think should be very clear to you, these components and things like that. And inside sign in, I can, inside the sign in component, I can use another component. I can write another component, right? So using different components, you just switch those components together and build one application, right? So let me do one more thing, guys. I want to add prettier RC file. So if you're using Visual Studio Code, just go to extensions, search prettier, and it is basically a code formatter. For me, what it does is when I do Command S, when I do save, it will automatically prettify the code form. I'll show it to you guys, right? For VS Code, we have this. For Atom and different editors also you'll have this. But for Atom, I'm showing it to you how to do it, right? For VS Code, sorry. So just install it from here. And once you're done with that, open your settings using Command comma or Control comma, and just find format. And here in editor, in default formatter, just choose this VS Code one, which you have installed. Just choose this one and also choose format on paste, format on save. Just tick these boxes, right? Just do these things. And the benefit of this is after you have done all of these things, what I can do is at the root directly, I can just create a new file called .prettierrc, and here I can give some configuration. I want to give single quote equals to true. You can just have this as an empty object as well, but I like to give single quote equals to true. And now when I save it, what it will do is, here you can see if the indentation is messing up, right? If anything is messing up, if I do Command S, it will automatically prettify the code for me, right? It will automatically do that for me. So it's just it's just what do you say, a productive benefit. It will give you a productive benefit. That's it. You don't have to install it, but I'll be using it, right? Okay, guys. So we have our sign in over here. We have our index, and let me just quickly commit the code so that you guys can have it. Git add all, commit -m. We will have add sign in component and prettier RC, right? And just git push origin master. So now you guys can just go and quickly, if you want to have a look at the repo, just have a look at the repo. So what I've done is I've just added .prettierrc file over here, and I've added an object with single quote equals to true like this. And when I save my files, even my app.js, if I save it, it will automatically prettify the code for me, right? Here you can see single quote true basically means if I'm using double quotes, If I save it, it will automatically change it to single quotes. That's it, right? You can just avoid that as well. So guys, just go, please rewind the video to see how you can uh, use Prettier, right? So I have covered the code, guys. Just go ahead and reload this page, you'll get it. Okay. So definitely, guys, I'll add this tree for source also in the README file so that we know what is the product structure, right? Project structure. In my README, I'll definitely add project structure. Okay, cool. And let's make it second header H2 instead of an H1. Save it and let's quickly update this as well. Update README and I'll push origin master, right? So you'll have the ability to README as well. So now, guys, what we'll do is now we'll learn a few more concepts, right? I'll learn a few more concepts. Let's learn that. And let's go to our React app. We have these two components, so we'll not be requiring sign in as of now. Let's remove this. Or rather, so guys, what generally happens is if you want to store some data, right, for this particular component, right? For example, if I have a counter, right, and the counter's current count is 1, and if I want to increase the counter, right, if I have a button to increase the counter, I press on that button, and that button will basically increase the counter. Then what should happen? Count should increase, and it should also render that count, right? It should also render that count in your browser also, right? So that part is also important, right? And React comes into the picture over here, which basically helps me to handle all of this very smoothly, right? And in this bootcamp, we'll not be learning React hooks. If people know what React hooks are, then we will not be learning over here. We'll only be using class components. So by that, I basically mean is that your app will have a state, right? So the whole concept of using React or a JavaScript library is to create and maintain a state across, which will basically in sync across all the pages in your application, right? For example, if if in my Facebook website, one of my friend has posted a picture, right? And if I like that picture, if I just put a like over there, that picture is coming in my feed, in my Facebook feed, right? So if I like that picture's like count will increase, right? And if I go to that person's profile as well, that profile will also have that picture, right, in his wall. So, and that particular wall should also have the up-to-date like, which I have liked, right? That should be there. So basically what will happen is that you will have to create this state in JavaScript. That basically means that you have to maintain a state of this wherein I have liked the picture of my friend, and it should be in sync in my friends, on my friend's wall as well, in my feed as well, right? It should be in sync. The whole point of using JavaScript library is that we should have to, I mean, keep the whole state in sync, right? And the state should automatically change. So Vijay, we definitely will use hooks, not now, but later on we will definitely use hooks, right? But for now, explaining this particular part. In the tomorrow's session, we will use hooks, not today, right? So that's what I basically meant. So basically, what will happen is we have to create a state, right? That state will change, right? So if my friend's like account was 50, if I liked it, it will become 51, and it should be same on his wall as well as in my feed, right? So we have to maintain a state. So let's see that in what do you call a counter example, right? So let's create a counter example. Now we basically know what is a component and everything, right? So what we have to do is now use state. Again, I use RCC to create a class component, right? So here we had hello world, right? And again, guys, we'll definitely come to hooks, but not now. For just explaining purposes, we'll not use hooks as of now. So there are two ways, right? So mainly earlier, the difference between a functional component and a class component was that you did not have the access of state, right? And we'll see what state is, but you did not have the access of state before React hooks came along. Before that, you did not have the access of state. So now let's see what state is, right? So now what we want to do is we want to show a counter. So counter basically means 1, 2, 3, and we want to increase it, right? So what we want to do is we basically just write a state over here like this, and we'll have a counter over here of 1, right? And here, what I want to do is I want to render this counter over here. So using this, I will just say this dot state dot counter, and this is basically how you use variables basically in your JSX. So what this is basically what you are writing over here is called JSX. It is JavaScript XHTML. This is not exactly HTML, because you must have noticed that instead of using class, we use class name, right? Instead of using classes, we use class name. So this basically will render the counter. So whatever variable that you need to render inside this HTML kind of thing, you just use this curly braces, and you use, obviously you are using a class, right? So I want to access the state variable. I use this dot state dot counter. If I save it, you should see 1 over here, right? This is basically what state is, right? And once we change the state, right? Once we change the state, it will automatically re-render our whole application, right? And we'll see that, we'll find that in a moment. So let's just quickly do that as well. Or rather, we basically will find out when we create the whole component and things like that, right? But this is just general idea of state, what state actually is. So we are creating a state of counter 1, and if this counter 1 is increased to 2, I will create a button later on, but when it's increased to 2, it will automatically re-render. It will automatically change over here, right? Without us doing anything, it will automatically change over here, right? And we find that out as we go along the project, right? So let's now quickly start on with our project, which is creating the most components which we will require, like sign in, sign up, and things like that, right? First, let's create the components part in this session. For example, is sign in, right? And now you see how easy it is to do. So we're creating a sign in form, right? So we will have a form component over here, right here, right? And this will basically have inputs, and you see it is exactly the same as HTML, but is not like exactly HTML, right? And we'll see. So I want to give a class to this. So instead of using class in React, what we do is we use class name. And here I'll say sign in form. Sign in form, right? So here you can see the difference. Since this is JavaScript, we're writing everything in JavaScript. This syntax is familiar. It's like HTML, but it is not exactly HTML, right? So what Webpack will do is this is actually JavaScript. This whole code will be converted into HTML for you guys, right? So don't worry about that. The work for Babel will actually do this for you guys. Babel is there. It's another tool to try and transpile your ES6 code into regular JavaScript, right? So currently we're writing JavaScript only, guys. Right? So don't worry about that. The syntax is kind of similar like HTML, but it is not HTML. It is JavaScript only, right? So here we will have a name of email. So we will have email, we will have password as well. Or instead, rather, what I was thinking about is instead of using sign-in form like using email and password, what we'll do is we will use social authentication and we will be using Firebase's social authentication, right? So we'll be creating a sign in with Google and sign up with Google, right? So instead of creating all of this email password thing, let's just create only one. Instead of either creating a form as well, we'll create one button, right? And this button will say sign in with Google. So we will not be creating the sign in sign up of normal using email and password. We'll be using Google authentication for it. It's very easy to do it. We'll see once we use Firebase, right? And let's give an H1 also over here. We'll say sign in. Okay. So let's use this component rather in our app.js. Let's remove this for now. We'll definitely come back to it, guys. Don't worry about it. We'll definitely come back to this. If you are still not clear about state, we'll definitely come back to it. But currently, my main focus is to create the components as of now that we can generally use, right? So we are creating a sign-in over here, and let me style it a bit so that it looks a little bit nicer. And over here, I'll say border 1 pixel, solid, hashtag E1, 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 right? And also we will have a padding of, let's say 20 pixel, great. Or rather, let's give it 10 pixel. That's fine. And I want to give it a width of 500 pixel. And I want to give it a margin of 0 auto so that it centers, right? So let me decrease the font size. So here you can see this division is basically centered with the page, right? So that's what I'm doing. Right. Let's copy this. I've given the class name of sign-in form. Let's go to index.css and give sign-in form over here and paste all of this stuff. Right. And again, as you see, as I press save, it automatically basically prettifies the code for me. And I hope the spelling is right. If I refresh, it is at the center. No, the spelling is not right. So let me just go over here and paste it. Now it should be right. Awesome. And also let's remove the margins of this heading. Margin 0, or rather let's give margin of 5 pixel. Top bottom should be 5 pixel. Right left should be 0. Let's increase this. Awesome. Text align center. Awesome. This is a sign-in form, and font size should be 25 pixel. Yep. That's great for now, right? And again, styling will be exactly the same, guys, as we used to do in CSS. Nothing much changed over here. We'll give it a margin top of 20 pixel, let's say. And save it and refresh. Here you can see we have a sign-in form, right? And if I close this, it will actually be in the middle, right? Okay, great, guys. So we have basically created a sign-in form. And again, I'm not focusing too much on the styling part, at least for sign-in, sign-up forms, right? I'm not worried too much about it. Or rather, what we can do is we can create only one form, which can either be login or sign up, right? We can say sign in, sign up. So what we will see is we will require only one button to either sign in with Google or sign up with Google, right? We will require only one button. And we'll see that in a moment when we use Firebase for that, right? Sign in with Google, or we can say sign up with Google. We'll save it, and we have sign in, sign up, or sign in with Google, or sign up with Google, right? And using a single click of this button, we'll be able to authenticate the user. We'll be able to store the user in the database and things like that. And we'll find out that out in a bit, right? Okay, cool guys. So let's move along. We have created the sign-in component. So now main part is to create the main component. And for me, let's go to thinking.html txt file. Here you see these are the components that we require, right? Sign in, sign up, we have converted them into one component, and it's fine for us that we'll be using only one component over here. And we will create now these components, right? So there will be one sidebar component, there will be one main container, right? And we'll rename it into a right container, right? So what we'll do is, let's go back to the design. And this design will have our components. So what we will see over here is this whole thing, or let's rather call it a Slack component, right? This whole will be called the Slack component, and inside the Slack component we have this sidebar on the left, and right hand side is the main container, right? This whole will be one Slack component, so we'll call it that. So let's add that as well over here. Slack component. And again, we will definitely change things, guys, once we are coding along. Once we get to the component and once we are doing routing and stuff like that, we'll definitely change up these things, right? But this is as of now. And let me just quickly do a commit as well. And we'll say sign in styling, right? Okay, and I'll do push. So it will push the code for you guys, so you can just totally get the code from there, right? All the CSS code and stuff like that, you can go for there. Okay, guys, so let's again take a 5 minutes break. So it's 9 p.m. So after 5 minutes, we'll be creating the sidebar component, the main container, and things like that, right? We'll create those components in the after next 5 minutes, right? So let's take a break, guys. You have 5 minutes. So again, if you want to eat something, if you want to grab a snack, or if you want to drink something, go grab it. So if you have any other question, guys, definitely put on the chat. In the meanwhile, I can definitely answer some questions. Yes, guys, this webinar will basically be available, and whatever extensions I'm using over here, apart from Prettier, it is down below in the first comment. You can see that it's pinned over there. So just go and grab that. And if you want to check out the code, guys, just go to the repo and check the code. I've pushed the latest part in the app.js part. I'm just rendering sign component as of now. So please go ahead and take a break, guys, definitely. So guys, don't worry about state and props and things like that. We'll definitely covering that topic again in some time. So don't worry about if you did not understand state. We'll definitely come back to that topic. Don't worry about that. So Raj, we will not be using socket. We will be using Firebase, which internally use socket. So uh, kind of yes. Mohit, definitely you'll see in a moment why we use React. So don't worry about that. So guys, again, just to mention a few things that tomorrow is the second part wherein we'll be covering Firebase and things like that. So I think today's part will mostly be focusing around components and state and props and things like that. But uh, tomorrow's part will be mostly more of a business logic part. Tomorrow will mostly be that, and today we'll mostly be just doing components and we'll be using state and props and things like that. That's it. Okay, so Akansha definitely will learn what sockets are once we come to that part. So tomorrow we'll definitely come to that part. So no prerequisites for Firebase. We'll definitely learning it from scratch. So don't worry about that. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, guys. So let's just start in 2 minutes. Or let's just start now. It's already 9:10. So let's start on. Let's carry on. So let me just quickly give you a recap on what we have done up until now. So we have created a few components. We have a sign-in component, which will also be a sign-up component, wherein we'll be giving only one button to for signing in with Google or signing up with Google, right? So we have only one button over here, and every style will go to index.css file, and we have created app.js, right? And One more thing to notice over here is that whatever you're returning over here, this basically is not HTML. It is called JSX, which is called as JavaScript XHTML, which basically means that the syntax is kind of uh, similar to HTML, but it is not HTML. This is JavaScript, right? So over here, this will be converted into normal regular JavaScript, and this will basically then internally be rendered whatever you are seeing on the browser, right? So that HTML will automatically be rendered, but this is not HTML, just to take care of that, right? Guys, if you want to see any files, please go to the repo. Repo is again just telling you again down pinned in the down below in the comment section. So please go and download, go to the repo and see the code if you want to see any part of the code, right? Everything is uploaded, guys. Everything is over here in the GitHub repo. You have your source, your index.css file, and everything is over here. Okay, so index.js file. Someone is asking, Vikas is asking why there are two index.js files. One is this index.js file, which is index of source folder, right? Which is the main entry point. In components folder, we have created one index.js file. If you want to know why we have created that, just go ahead and rewind the video. You'll definitely find it, why we have created this index file. But this is the entry point which we have to look upon, right? Okay, guys, so let's move on to the next component, or rather what I want to do right now is first, before even writing other components, let's learn routing. So what is routing and how actually routing happens, right? For that, what we want to do is we want to install one package. I hope everyone is coding along. You just have to do npm I react router DOM. So just download this particular package, guys. So this is React Router DOM, wherein what we will be doing is we will be routing our project, routing our app on the client side. That basically means once your route changes from, let's say, sign in to home, everything will be changed by client, right? The URL will be changed by JavaScript. The page you are seeing, the component that you are seeing will be changed by JavaScript, and everything will be changed by JavaScript, right? So that's why what we will be using React Router DOM. Okay. So we'll see how to set up this and how to write different routes in a moment. But again, guys, if again some of you are facing still difficulty understanding why are there two index.js files, guys, there's only one index.js file, which is this one, which is the entry point. Components index.js file we have created, right? This is only one, the entry point, that's it. If you want to know why is that, just go back, rewind the video, and you'll see why is that and why we have created the other file, right? But in the meanwhile, let's just wait for it, and rather let's just start writing code for it, right? In the meanwhile it's installing, let's write code. So go to your entry point, your index.js file over here. Go over here, and what we will do is we will import something from the React Router DOM, which we just installed, right? So what we do is we import browser router. So this is basically coming from the package that we have installed, or we are installing this one, React Router DOM, right? So from React Router DOM, right? And I want my whole routing to take place throughout the application, right? We want that. So for that, what we will be doing is we will basically wrapping our app component with the browser router component, because I want my app component to have routing, right? So I will have to tell React Router DOM inside which component I want, right? So inside app component, I want that routing. So I'll just wrap my app component with this one, like this, and save it. And here you can see that I have my browser router component. Inside this, I have my app component, right? And again, there are two types of closing the component. One is I can close my component like this also, which I'm doing over here, or I can close my app component like this, right? There are two ways of closing the component. Whatever way you feel like you can do it, but obviously there are reasons to doing these two different ways, but we'll not get into that over here right now. But this is the router, which is again another React component given to us by React Router DOM, right? And just install it. I hope it is being installed right now. Yes. All you have to do is do npm I React Router DOM. That's it. I hope everyone has installed that. So let it just install, guys. In one of your terminal, your code will be running. Your right in second terminal, go and install all of these things. Right in the second terminal, I've created two separate terminals. In one terminal, my my server is running, local server, and my right hand side on second tab, this package is being installed. Right. So open in two different tabs. Definitely it will take some time once you're actually downloading it. It is taking some time. It's saying cannot resolve React Router DOM. Again, this is a good way to solve errors, right? This is the error which I've got. It's saying index.js, right? So everything is here inside this error, right? So inside your index.js file in source folder, you have this error, React Router DOM is not found. Why is that? Because we are using router over here, React Router DOM, right? But this is not yet installed. It's still being installed. That's the error. That's the error coming over here, right? So don't worry. What I've done up until now is just I have imported browser router from React Router DOM, and I'm wrapping my app component with this because I want to work my routing inside this app component, right? And you will just find it on in a moment, right? Don't worry. So I hope it finishes now. It should not take that amount of time, but I don't know why. But let's wait for it, guys. So in the meanwhile, let me just explain to you the concept behind routing. Right. So guys, what is actually routing, right? So let's say once you visit your facebook.com, right, you have your feed, right? And once your feed is over, right, once you go to your profile page, your URL will change at the top, right? Your URL at the top will change something like facebook.com/profile/id or something like that, right? Your URL will change. So there are two general ways for routing, and for single page applications, you have to do everything in front end, right? You are basically doing everything in front end. That basically means you have to route users using JavaScript only, right? So, for example, in our case, here we will have one URL called /signin. Once we are there, we will display the sign in component. That's it, right? Once the user is logged in, only then we will display the app component, right? Only then we want to display it. Because once the user is not logged in, we only want to show the user the sign in part, right? The form. Because we have sign in, sign up, only one form. That will be our main homepage, right? if the user is not logged in, of course. So you have one sign in, sign out URL, and once you're logged in, your URL will change to home or anything. So that is called routing, and that is basically taking place in your browser only. So what we are doing is using this React Router package, we are actually using the history API of the browser to manage everything, to manage this router and everything, right? So we are using this React Router package, which internally uses the browser's history API to manage this routing part, right? Because it is kind of like a stack. So if you are on slash, which is your home, and you go to sign in, then you basically put sign in at the top of your stack, right? And then you go to, let's say, a sign up page, sign up URL, it will put sign up at the top of the stack, right? And once you go back, it will keep on popping it off, right? So this is basically how browsing, how it works, how URL basically works, right? So it's still being installed. Okay, so it is finished. I think React Router DOM is finished. If I refresh now, I should not ideally have this error. It is still compiling. Let me just npm start again. Okay, so I think that particular port has been blocked, or it is stuck over there. So it's basically running my application on a different port. So let's run that. 3001. So it's still starting the development server. Right. So again, guys, uh, one good point of using React Router or using a single page application is that you will never have to reload your page, right? Once you navigate from one page to another page, everything is happening on the client side, everything is re-rendering and everything is happening on the client side. Again, we'll see with an example once my app is started, but everything is basically being happening on the front end side, right? So everything is happening over here. So now I think it's working, right? So everything is happening on the front end side. So once you change your route from, let's say, sign in to sign up, whatever is changing, you're not refreshing the page. The page will not get refreshed, right? You will just see it over here. Again, guys, just make sure that you're importing browser router like this, and you're wrapping it over here like this, and you're also closing it over here. You are using wrapping the app component with this, right? So I hope everyone has done that, right? So everything is working fine. So now let's set up our router. So we have now basically, let's create routes, right? So in my app.js, I will have to import few other stuff. I will have to import switch. And again, we'll come to it in a moment. What is that and why do we use it and things like that. Route from React Router DOM. Let's put it at the top. And now over here, what we generally will do is, instead of using a sign component like this, I will use switch component over here. And again, you have to close it. So just make sure you close the switch component. And inside this, you will use a route component. And you want to give a path of, let's say, this, right? If you give a path of slash, I want to render some component, right? So let's render component What component do I want to render? I want to render the sign in component like this. And again, guys, I told you this is a whole JavaScript, right? So if you want to pass a variable, you have to use these curly braces like this, right? And let's create a few other components. So this will be, let's say, home, some, and let's create components over here at the top just for our learning purposes. So we have components sign in, we'll create home, a function component, right? And we'll give it a div. We'll give it a div of home, save it. And here I'll say some, and now I'll use home component for the home path like this. And I'll use the sum component for the sum path, right? Whatever the path will be, we can render different component based on different paths, right? Let's save this, go over here, refresh. And now you see I have sign in, sign up at slash, right? And if I go and change this to home, my route is not matching because I have to give an exact over here as well. That basically tells that if the path is exactly slash, render this component. If the path is exactly slash home, render home. If the path is exactly this, render this, right? And now you see we have our home component, add slash home, right? And obviously we don't have links right now, but if we have a navigation bar, if you navigate from home to sign up and to some, the URL will change, the page will not refresh, right? That's the main thing I want to tell you guys. But again, we'll go on to slash. It basically contains the sign in, sign up component, right? So we have basically created the routing, right? Our routing is done. We don't have to do anything else, right? If we want to add more routes, so for example, if we want to add slash channel slash something, so we'll definitely add this over here, but the routing part is done, right? For the most part, our routing part is done. I hope everyone is understanding this. Okay. And again, guys, this might look a little bit weird to you, that how I'm doing this, passing all of these properties into a component, right? And we'll definitely come back to it. Don't worry about it. How we are actually passing these properties to a route component, right? We'll definitely come back to it, so don't worry about that. But anyways, this is basically how we have created a routing part. And if you want to add more URLs, if you want to have more paths to your website, if you have more URLs, then definitely go ahead and add route over here. And definitely we'll do that as we create components, right? We'll definitely do that. So guys, if we mention paths like this, what will happen is this switch component, what it does is it will basically return one component. It will return any one of the route, right? It will return any one of the route depending upon the path in the URL, right? So earlier what we had done was this switch will only return one component. That's why we are able to render only one sign-in component over here, because this matches this one. Path equals to slash. It matches this one, right? So only this will be rendered. Rest of these will be ignored. That's how rendering is taking place, right? And now what happens is, if I'm not writing exact, right? If I go to slash home as well, if I go to slash home as well, you'll see the sign-in component only. I have to save this. And if I now reload, you see the sign-in component at the home page, right? Why is that? The path home is there and it is rendering home. It should render home. But why is it not working? Because as I just told you, switch component will basically render. It will go to these components path one by one, these routes one by one, and whatever matches the first time, it will render that. So this is matching, right? Because slash home contains one slash, right? This one slash is still there. That's why it basically matches this slash with the sign-in component, and sign-in component is being rendered over here instead of this. That's why we have to write exact over here. So to tell switch that only use if the path is exactly the same. So now we have this. So if none of your route matches, right? If let's say none of your route matches, so it will not show anything because you do not have any route that matches this particular route, right? For that, we generally create a 404 page. We'll come to that later on, not now. But for every route which is not being matched over here, it should render a 404 page, right? So we'll come to that in a later bit, but this is how we do routing. And let me just commit this as well so that you guys can check it in your computer as well. And we say git add dot git commit -m add routing. So now we have added router as well. I have pushed it as well. So now in your React clone, Slack clone, you will definitely have this over here, right? The latest commit will be and should be the routing one, add route, right? So now routing is done. Okay. Absolutely, guys, we can pass query parameters, we can pass query strings and things like that. We'll definitely see it out, but this is the basics of routing, right? So we have created our initial router, right? So now let's quickly create our Slack component as well, right? We'll create a new component called Slack.js, right? And again, I'll use RCC over here. And sometimes if it does not work, just press Control space and it will show you the suggestions, right? So this is a Slack component, guys, coming back to the wireframe. So guys, just go to the commit and go to commits. If you want to find out what changes are there, go to commits, click on this particular commit over here. Click on a particular commit over here and it will show you which files I have changed, right? It will definitely show you that. It will only show you the files I have changed, right? So like this. Anyways, so now we have basically added routing and now we're basically going to create this Slack component, right? It will have a sidebar. It will have a write main container, right? So let me just create those components quickly. Sometimes it does not work. Sometimes in Visual Studio Code, you will have a problem where it will not, give suggestions and things like that. But anyways, let's just copy paste code from here, right? So we'll rename this to sidebar, or this is the Slack component, right? We'll rename this to this, remove everything. Just create 3 different components, guys. One is the Slack component, one is the sidebar, and the other is the main container, which is on the right hand side, right? So in my index.js, I have to import that as well. But let's first create all the components. Sidebar. Also, let's create main container. So guys, again, the main container is this one on the right hand side. So this is the main part where all the messages and everything will be there. So let's write this. Let's copy paste the code from here. Just copy this, paste it over here, rename this to sidebar, right? Copy this, paste it over here, rename this to main container. Save it and go to index.js file, import all of those components, right? Let's write sidebar. It will be sidebar over here. This will be Slack. This will be main container, right? And now we have to export these as well. Slack, main container, right? So now you see basically we have multiple components we are exporting from this file only, right? And now if you want to use these components, I'll import it from components index file. That's it. So let's close everything, guys, now. And here at main, I want to render the main component, right? So here I'll grab main component, main, it's main container rather. Let's grab main container and render main container over here. And let's go to main URL. So let's go to main URL over here. It should render the main container, and we have one error. We have a spelling mistake in our components index file. We have a spelling mistake over here. Now I think everything should work, right? So we have our main container over here, right? So inside the main container, we will use sidebar as well as the, inside the Slack component, we will use main container as well as the sidebar, right? So let's do that. Let's go to app again. Again, this should be Slack, not main container. Right, this will be Slack, and the component will be the Slack component. Inside the Slack component, we will have two components, sidebar and the main container, right? So from here, we can basically import. We will import the sidebar, we will import the main container from the same index file in the same folder, right? And now instead of this, I will have a sidebar like this. I will also have a main container like this. So now if I save it and I go to Slack, it should basically give me two components, sidebar as well as main container, right? So now we have two components over here in the Slack route. At the top, you can see over here. Right, so let's just quickly style these elements, these components. So let's close everything. So okay, guys, what I've done is I've created three components: main container, your sidebar component, your Slack component, and in my index.js, I have imported everything and exported it from here. And in my main app.js component, I have given a route of Slack, which will render the component Slack, right? And this is a dummy part, guys. We'll definitely change once we are more into the app, right? We'll definitely change it. And let me just commit this code as well so that you guys can grab the code. Git status. Git add all, git commit, add sidebar, main container Slack component. So I'll do a push, and you will definitely have all of these components. Okay, guys, so now we have basically created the routing part and we have created 3 components. All that is left is to style all of these components, right? Where I think most of the part is almost done. What's left is just the styling part. Okay, so let's quickly go and to my sidebar. Let's quickly style the sidebar, right? So I'll give it an ID of sidebar, right? And let's go to the wireframe again. We have all of this, right? We have the user over here, right? The user profile or whatever you call it. So again, we'll call this particular component at the top. This one will be user profile, right? And as we have mentioned, the thinking.txt file, and this will be channels list component, right? List of channels. This will be direct messages component, right? And this whole is the sidebar component, this whole. So currently what I'll do is I'll quickly put all the HTML over here in one go. And once I've done it, styled it, then I'll remove the HTML and make it into a different component, right? So let's do that quickly at the bottom. So this will be the user component, the user profile. Okay. I don't know what's happening. My Visual Studio Code is going mad. Anyway, so this is basically I give it a class name of, user profile, right? And I just copy paste it like this. Copy paste it like this 3 times. So we have user profile at the top, this one. We will have channels. Let's create up until channels right now, right? So we'll say user channels. The user profile has 2 things. One is this picture part. Other is the name of the workspace, right? Name of the app. So we'll only write the picture part as well as the name. That's it. We'll only have that. So I will have 2 divs. One is for picture, right? And other div will be writing name, which is Ronald something. Let's go and style that quickly. Right, I'll just quickly open this console and I'll quickly grab the sidebar. This is the sidebar, right? At the very top. This is the sidebar, right? And again, guys, we'll style it. We'll move it on the left and we'll move the next part on the right. So definitely we'll do that. But first, let's style the sidebar a bit, right? So sidebar is at the top and we'll give this particular user profile. We'll have this particular div, which will have a picture. Let's give it a border for now of 1 pixel, solid red. Right. So, and user profile will be of display flex. Right. And this should be of, let's say, width should be 10 pixel. I think this part is fine, right? This much is fine. And we'll also grab this part. This is fine, I think. Let's just give a font size of 18 pixel or less. I think this is fine. Sidebar, align items will be center. Justify content will be center. Sorry, not this one. It should be this one. Align items will be center so that both this image as well as this name is centrally vertically aligned, right? let's copy these styles and paste them, guys. And again, guys, don't worry about the styling and everything. So tomorrow, in tomorrow's boot camp, we'll mostly be covering the business logic part. So what will I have is I will basically design the structure for you guys. I will basically do all the styling parts so that we do not spend a lot of time in styling. So we will do that for sure. And or rather, let's leave it over here. Let me just put all of these styles, uh, right? So what you can do, guys, for tomorrow's bootcamp is that just go and create your styling on your own, right? So just create exactly like this. Left hand should be this one, right hand side should be this one. So tomorrow what we will be doing is we will only be focusing on the React part, learning React and the business logic and everything. And also what I'll be doing is in the repo only, I'll be just doing all the designing part, the HTML, CSS part by myself, and I'll push it into the repo so that you guys can clone it, right? But definitely, Pratik, a very good idea. Give it as homework. So guys, this is homework for you. What you have to do, so now you know routing, right? Now you know how to create components. Now you know how to style and everything. You have to style this sidebar. You have to style this right-hand side, this one. So you have to style all this, right? Create the components, style the components in a way that it should look exactly like this, right? But definitely before the bootcamp, I'll put all of the code, I'll do all of the styling part, and I'll put it in the GitHub repo. I'll push it over there just before the start of the webinar, right? Before the start of the bootcamp, rather, tomorrow. So I'll do that. In the meanwhile, you definitely do try to create styling as good as this. Do try to do it if you want, but definitely tomorrow I think mostly I'll be focusing on is the business logic part, right? And let me just quickly uh, push this one also if there is anything left. uh, hmm. So I'll add this. Add sidebar HTML part. Okay, guys, so I pushed the latest code onto the GitHub, right? Try to complete it. Try to write all the HTML part. Now you know you just have to write the HTML, right? You don't have to do CSS, right? Your main motive is to style your Slack component, right? This Slack component contains two components, which is sidebar, and right one is the main container, right? So just style the sidebar, style the main container. This is all you have got for homework. Tomorrow, before starting the bootcamp, you should have all of this. You just have to style it, nothing else, right? In sidebar, you know you have to give class names like this, ID like this, use index.css file, and things like that. Style it by yourself. If you want to play around with colors and theme and everything, just do it, but make sure that you style it, right? Definitely, I'll do that also, and I'll push it as soon as I do it onto GitHub, right, for tomorrow. But I think this is good for now. So we have in this today's sessions bootcamp, what we have done is we have learned how to create a React project. We have even started the React Slack clone project. And tomorrow, definitely in the bootcamp, we will finish our Slack clone, because tomorrow's part will only be focused on the business logic part instead of writing all of this HTML and CSS part, right? It will only and only be focused on your writing the logic part. Okay, so great, guys. I hope you have learned something new from this bootcamp, from this particular session. I hope uh, everyone learned something from this. And obviously, this video will be public, guys. Don't worry, this video will be public, so you can rewatch it if you basically are stuck somewhere. So do rewatch it, and I hope you got something new from this. And definitely tomorrow will be going to be a little bit tough session, because we'll be writing business logic, right? So it will be a little bit of tough session, but it will be a really good session wherein we'll complete each and every functionality, right? So it will be a really good. And all of these links, guys, are attached down below in the comment. First comment, go and see the very first comment. You will have your GitHub repo link. You will have your Behance link. You will have your everything, right? So whatever extension I'm using, you will have everything down below in the first comment. Okay, guys, so let's close it for today. And I hope you have learned something new. And tomorrow will be a really good session wherein we'll be learning a lot of JavaScript things, right? So tomorrow will be the hard one. So a little bit hard, but we'll go step by step and we'll learn everything, right? So, okay, guys, good night. Bye bye. I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you tomorrow.